Alrighty, this is Saturday, May 25th, about 10 in the morning. We are behind 520 Maryland, Louisiana, Missouri. Yes, I know it's confusing. Maryland, Missouri. Maryland, Louisiana, Missouri. 3 states right in a row there. Anyway, we're behind Will Miller's house, who has graciously allowed me to probe and dig in this beautiful manicured lawn in the backyard. Used to be a 2-story house on the 1876 map here, and a 1-story house on the 1896 map, which is the first of the Sanborn maps that anything is accessible. And then he says 1910-ish was when this place was built. So my theory is there should be 2 privies, one to the older house, 2-story, and then one to the 96 house. And just as luck would have it, I seem to have probed out 2 possible privies. Privy gauge is 70% on this one right here, so we're going to pop that puppy open this morning. Number 2 over here seems 50-50. I'm not sure what's going on. And then over in this corner, something's going on. I don't know what. On the 76 map, in this corner of the lot or property, showed a shed. It wasn't a barn, but a big shed looking thing. And Will, the owner, says his property line actually extends over about 3 foot. I'm guessing across the street where that cement wall is the actual property line that would have extended equally back here. That's a good 3 or 4 feet more. But as you can maybe see, it slopes dramatically within a foot or 2 here, rendering it rather useless unless you want to put in a deck that overhangs it or something, you know. So anyway, he has opted to keep the fence on this side of the property line, which would possibly cut off something that might have been partly over here. Anyway, between these 2 flags was some crunchiness and I don't know what else. It didn't feel all that exciting. I think it was a shed with maybe some storage under it or something. Over here, and oddly enough, I haven't hit a wall for any of these. Except for this one, it felt like I actually hit a clay wall, which it indicated was a wood liner. I believe the same for this one over here, and that seems to be typical for this town, is wood liners. I've hit a couple of brick liners. So far I haven't hit a stone liner, so I just suspect I haven't hit anything quite that old yet. So anyway, enough of the gabbing. I'm going to open this up, and Will has plenty of relatives to help out with the dig, so I think my back is safe, at least for this morning. Weather's supposed to be thunderstorms in the afternoon, and Kitty is lost. Well, after 45 minutes of steady digging, steady in that this topsoil, and we're not even talking clay, this topsoil is tough. Dang, I mean, I know I got flabby over the winter, but geez, this is ridiculous. Anyway, about 3 feet down I hit a clay layer, kind of reverse of what I'm expecting. I expect a clay cap and then sort of some darkish soil with bones and glass and bottles. That being said, my probe bottoms out right at the 5-foot handle. So if it is a privy, it's an awful shallow one, A. B, it's not a very big one, I don't think. And C, the worst of it all, you can see on my shovel, you can see clay use layer for probably the last, I'm going to be generous and say 6 inches. That's what she said. Oh, buddy. I'm going to be generous and say 9 inches. Use layer looks like it goes up to here to the shovel tip. 4 to 6 inches. And there's glass down there. I've crunched through something. I was worried that the ash that I was digging up, I kept digging up a little bit of what looked like coal clinkers or some sort of black ash in the soil. But it was all pretty crumbly like that, which could be totally organic. A lightning strike, for example, burn a tree 200 years ago or whatever. I don't think lightning struck an animal and then lasered its bone off like that. That's saw cut. I did dig up this one, but couldn't tell if it had been cut or not. If you don't see one with a cut, it doesn't necessarily mean it's from man. Somebody buried a dog or something, but this was definitely sawed at the butcher shop, probably, or the barn, or wherever it was eaten. In other words, some human gnawed on that and threw it away in the outhouse hole. That's what I'm saying. So now I'm on a fence. Do I open it up 5 feet deep, 4.5 feet deep to dig 1/2 foot of use layer? Man, oh man. And I'm guessing too, if they filled it in that close to the bottom, how close were they to indoor plumbing, So how old is this at the bottom? 1910? I don't know. Could be. I gotta figure it out in the next few minutes. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, after just under 2 hours of digging, my first real bottle glass that I could identify was this A&DHC Gillette's Chinese Bluing, triple strength. And then out came this bad boy, bad girl, lady's leg, bitter's top, nice gloppy. Nice glop on the top there. Schroeder's, Bell's, who knows. Then a Whitney Glassworks fruit jar, that's got to be 1860s. And a clear Mason's 1858 in the fill. This also, the Whitney was in the clay cap too, right near the use layer. So anyway, we are widened out a bit, and we're certainly no deeper. So like I said, this thing bottoms out at my 5-foot probe handle. Oddly enough, so does that one. I probed that 5 foot. Bam, solid clay. So we'll finish this one out today, maybe that one tomorrow, who knows. Okay, well, out of the massive finds from this hole, 3 bottles and 1 juicer stopper for a fruit jar. I managed to hang on to these 2. Of course, the Pike's Peak, one of my favorites. And then this guy, I'd never heard of this before until I dug it up. A Peruvian celery Matthews Medicine Company from Indianapolis, Indiana. Peruvian celery. We had a different name for it back in the day. Peruvian marching powder, I think we called it. Anyway, I digress. But anyway, it's got a fairly early looking smooth base to it. It's in great shape. Of all the bottles to survive, you know, I mean, I'm not complaining, but I would have much rather had one of the other 3 Pike's Peak or clasped hands flasks that were broken, but we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, this one's pretty cool. I don't think there are any... Oops, I take it back. I see one before I even feel it. Air venting. One little air vent on that shoulder, which generally means there's another one on the opposite shoulder. For those of you who don't know about air venting, that came about, they don't know exactly when, but and the reasons for it seem to be a bit skewed. Supposedly, air venting allowed for embossing to show up more clearly. Yet I find bottles that have no embossing that are air vented. For what reason? So I suspect it had more to do with longevity of the mold. You know, if the heat had somewhere to escape a little bit, it wouldn't wear out the mold so fast. That's just my theory. But anyway, once you get into the 1870s, you generally don't find air venting at all. And then the earliest air venting, you'll likely only find a couple of them. And they always seem to appear in opposite pairs. You know, so if you're looking at the base and you find an air vent here, you're going to find one opposite corner kind of thing. Oh, looky there. Right on the base. Little air vents on each corner. And on the later ones, you'll find air venting right in the letters. I'll have to run this by you again another time when I actually have a good example. The air venting actually appears right in the lettering, and sometimes it actually even interferes with the lettering. It makes it harder to see. That's part of my theory, you know, for why the air venting's there at all. For Pike's Peak, this was my second Pike's Peak I ever dug. And wow, you know, a nice quart size. And the saddest thing about it is, this one was on the very top of a pile of flasks that looked like somebody had brought a handload of flasks in and then just dropped them in the hole, stacked on top of each other, and the only one that survived was the one on the top. There were 3 flasks underneath this one. There was another Pike's Peak and 2 clasped hands flasks, and they were all quart size like this, and they were all just crushed. And this bad boy is the survivor, not a scratch on it. Go figure. Old rye for Pike's Peak, and I can't remember the G number, McCarran number, but I do know it's the most common Pike's Peak bottle. I'll leave it to me to find the most common one. But that's all right. I mean, I could dig these all day long. Wouldn't hurt my feelings any. I mean, what's not to like about it, again, like I'm fond of saying. Looks like a half circle key mold or hinge mold.
kind of a little bit more icy blue than aqua, but again, it really needs a professional tumble, but clearly I've had it for a few years now and it doesn't bother me any. So there you have it. That's my second Pike's Peak dig, and the 2 keepers out of the 4 that I dug up. So on to the next one.